Sitting with John Orlando. You are the Executive Vice President, Worldwide Marketing and Business Development for Sixth Sense Media. And Sixth Sense does mobile marketing and e-marketing?
Mobile engagement.
Mobile engagement.
Yes, that's right.
Well, welcome. Thank you for doing this. Really appreciate you being here. Let's talk about engagement right off the bat. How do you define mobile engagement?
Well, to answer how you define mobile engagement, I like to use a term that we hear a lot about, which is m-commerce, mobile commerce. And if you think about it, before there can ever be the cha-ching, the money transaction, you have to engage a consumer and you have to give them a call to action. So what we focus on is what are the best ways to actually engage a consumer over mobile, what are the ways that it'll work, what are the ways that don't work, and what are the values that mobile can bring that actually make that engagement a much better engagement than we find in digital marketing channels such as online or traditional. And
I mean, is it a focus or is it a gap filler? You know what I mean? Is it something that complements another marketing vehicle, or can it stand alone? Can that kind of engagement stand alone?
It can stand alone, but it's a fantastic question. If you look at the landscape of major marketing companies that deal with the major brands, consumer brands, you see a world that has started with traditional, it has moved to online, we see the evolution of display marketing, we see all these different channels, we have social media, we've got all these tools, and so to some extent, what's very interesting to me is that mobile gets kind of thrown into the whole mix, and it's a very complicated one. It's not that hard to figure out what Twitter is. It's not that hard to figure out what Facebook is. It's pretty darn hard to figure out what mobile really means and how to integrate that into your multi-channel strategy. At the end of the day, what we're finding is that the performance of mobile is shadowing many of the other channels, and so marketers are now taking a very good look at this evolving channel, and I believe it can stand on its own. And over time, as we move to a screen that's, I always called it, a point of sale in your pocket. Right. You're going to spend a lot of time doing that, and that's going to become a very important channel.
And you think it will be eventually turn the way that we do things today on its head?
I think so. There's been a lot of interesting discussions about behavior, especially over Black Friday and Cyber Monday, kind of the yin and the yang. The yin where we participated, and I'd be happy to talk about that, is engaging shoppers over SMS in an interactive way, in a very targeted way. But there was also a lot of activity of what they called, couch shopping, with people looking at opportunities to buy things on their mobile phones and doing a lot of searching and a lot of buying there. So I think mobile is going to change behavior in multiple different ways.
It's funny. I mean, you bring up two perfect examples, right? So on the go SMS, driving people to a store. Versus the sit-back experience, pull up a tablet, browse and buy from your couch.
That's right.
And are those both mobile experiences, or is one more mobile than the other?
I actually think they're both mobile experiences, and I think that, yes, a tablet mimics online, mimics a traditional desktop experience. But one of the things that we've found is that targeting, which we spend a lot of time doing at Sixth Sense Media, you can't, from a legal perspective, from a regulatory perspective, send anybody a text message unless they've opted in to want to get one. So that means that they've opted into a loyalty situation with your brand, and they're out and about, they're doing something, and bing, there it is. And if it's targeted and relevant and contextually personalized, the call to action is going to be powerful. At the same point, if you're expecting somebody to take a device, maybe this big, an Android, iOS device, and purchase something, even in their home, they're going to have an existing relationship with that brand as well. So I think it's very continuous and it's very mobile. And the edge condition where it may look like a desktop experience, to me, is the one where it's not very valuable. It's the other ones that are truly valuable.
Well, and do you see a transition point here where right now what I get the sense in this industry is we're driving engagement and we're driving transactions based on, we're just moving money from one pot to another. So what I would have bought on my computer, I'm now buying on my tablet, and it's a similar experience. But do you see where are we at that stage where there's actually new revenue being created as a result of engagement through mobile?
Yeah, it's another great question. So I've been saying for quite some time that the whole online e-commerce experience has been about customer acquisition. It's finding the new customer, but that customer was shopping. And so you stole some money from someone else, right? So obviously that market has grown, but it's showing signs of stabilizing as there's not a lot of new business out there because customer acquisition is one marketing technique. What we're finding with mobile is that mobile is more about loyalty. And loyalty is all about life cycle of your customer. Right. And it's about bringing your customer through a relationship with you and finding opportunities where you can increase the value of that customer. Very interestingly, I want to cite a real-world example. We worked with a particular retailer over Black Friday who already had an existing mobile SMS program. What we brought to them was a location-aware mobile SMS program. They had 300 stores across the U.S., and what they wanted to do is at 8 a.m. in every time zone on Black Friday, send a message to people within 20 miles of the store, incenting them to come into the store. The results of that program were 400% or 4x the conversion rates of a standard SMS program. So
they had the metrics to already say that this is what our baseline is.
Yes, exactly.
And you guys came in
and we issued their coupons to their store, and we looked at the performance. And what it said was, those are the same guys that are out there. Yeah. They were all out there. If you had used one technique, you would have gotten this performance. But you didn't. You used a different technique, a targeted technique, a personalized technique. You sent the messages at the right time to the right people, and look what happens. So we look at that as newfound money. Right. That money was out there. It wanted to be spent, not being spent. So there are really tangible opportunities to go in through loyalty marketing, through engagement marketing, and find those high driving segments and work with them, and also find those people that didn't respond and find a mechanism to get them to interact with your brand.
So this is really about new revenue creation. And is it about broadcast or narrowcasting with this technology?
It's absolutely about narrowcasting. It's micro campaigns. It's not the macro campaign.
But how do you sell somebody on that? They say, listen, you're going to spend a lot of money on this campaign. Maybe it's not a lot of money, but you're going to spend some money on this campaign, and we're not going to hit 100,000 people. We're going to hit the right 100 people that are going to spend dollars.
Well, it's all in the numbers, right? Yeah. I mean, if we talk a lot in advertising about CPM, cost per thousand impressions, which is a very general marketing technique. Yep. And then we talk about CPA, cost per action. Right. And when you look at affiliate-based marketing, which is more in the CPA world, and loyalty marketing, you see that if the action is, I walked into your store and spent $100, versus I looked at an advertisement. Suddenly it becomes
it's like perspective, right?
Yeah, it suddenly becomes really interesting. So even small amounts of people, which represent a highly targeted, segmented, group or vertical within your broader loyalty base, if they're active and they're spending real money, that can be very valuable.
No kidding. But how do you convince somebody? Or is it a point where convincing doesn't need to happen now? When you go to a customer, they understand this? Or
No, convincing needs to happen.
It's still education.
It's the traditional wedding cake. I'm doing this. Yeah. So I believe you should be doing something way up here. Yeah. But you can't see that yet. So I'm going to take you from here, which in our case right now we're focused very much on moving from bulk SMS to highly targeted location-aware SMS. Yeah. If I can take you on this trip and you see the results of that trip, and then we start to work with you on collecting further data and segmenting tighter, we put in product categories, we look at buying history, we look at who's bought and frequency, we start adding all that, you can get to that level. But it's a trip. We're at the very basic, the basics of moving from sending email blasts over SMS, if you will, to getting to a targeted campaign.
But it's so important because for some reason this industry, web transitioning into mobile, have accepted such a terrible click-through rate, such a terrible return rates, and they look at it as I got a 2.5% click-through rate on that, and it's supposed to be good. Right. And it's not, because you're not doing your job. It's lazy marketing ultimately. But what you're talking about is we're going to send out 10 SMS messages to the 10 right people, and all of them are going to buy.
Right. I mean, that's one-to-one marketing.
Yeah.
Let's say I'm sending one message to one person, and it's the one they wanted.
Yeah.
Right. So, and then you back up. You have one of those moments where you back up for 50 miles.
Exactly.
And you say, well, now I'm looking across the desert. How do I get to that one moment? But I believe the marketing teams, the digital marketers that are out there today, are looking at mobile more seriously. It's an evolution. I mean, I really feel as though we're seeing the end of, not the end of, but we've maxed email out.
Yeah, killed it.
And it took 10 years to do that, right? I mean, it took 10 years to get through that. And so how long is it going to take to get interactive SMS over mobile into people's hands? The frustrating part for us is that if you look at the consumer behavior in the U.S. in person-to-person text messaging, there's been some great reports out recently. The Pew Institute did one, which said that the demographics below 25 are doing like 100 text messages a day, 3,000 a month, which puts us off the charts.
Yeah.
Even in a global perspective, in terms of performance. So everyone's out there ready to receive one of these messages. They know how to interact. The smartphone adoption that we've had in the U.S. Has been predominantly, it's allowed people to understand how to text better. That's like the number one thing that they do. Exactly. It's a great user experience. It's a little
full keyboard
and bloop and bloop, right? I mean, and they'll learn to do other things. But I believe marketers have to get a grip on this, and they're dealing with a lot of first generation solutions which are very generic.
Right.
And they've made the investment, and we all know how business works. I make an investment. I'm working with a partner, and now we've got 2.0 comes along.
Yeah.
Well, how do I embrace that?
John, thank you so
much.
much.
Thank you.
Real pleasure.
Yeah, might as well.